On T2, what happened is Jim called me. We talked about the film. He said, I want to use the melody. I don't want to use anything else. And I was sort of in shock, you know. So what I did is I then went away and started to think according to the script of how is this script different than Terminator? And there were some interesting things that came up, and part of the differences between the two films are what dictated where I went with the music. Jim is very interesting that way because he's very concerned about the overuse of melody. And melody is one of the composer's main tools, but he'll constantly say, I don't want to hear the recognizable theme. T2 had more depth, it had more humanity to it, it had more complex elements in the Terminator character himself having, you know, charge of the kid and all this stuff. So I opened it up into a richer, a little more complex texture, and less obviously electronic, using more, used a lot more organic sounds. A lot of the strange sounds don't come from synthesizers, they come from acoustical sources that I then manipulate, but it might be the rubbing of the inside of the piano, or it might be a sample of a bunch of brass players just going crazy, and I shape it into the cue. So I was working 7 days a week, 20 hours a day for at least the last 3 weeks. And while they were mixing reel 10, I was writing reel 11, and a courier would literally stand outside the door and take it on a plane, because I'm here in Los Angeles and Skywalker is up north. If a score is well designed, it should meld really well with the sound effects, and I feel that was part of the success of the Terminator scores, was I really took into account the sound effects and created things that sort of bridged between music and sound effects. But still, it's an opportunity for the listening audience to really hear what you did very clearly. Gary Summers, at a given moment in the film, he's got my 6 music tracks, and he's actually working and trying to get the music to help the scene.
Well, we had the music spread out in different layers, as you say, like the strings or percussive instruments and things like that. And so we would try different elements and maybe using the strings sometimes and the percussive instruments other times. And in this particular film, as you know, there were so many sound effects and the music had to be integrated with that.
The reason we isolate the various elements is that until you hear the sound effects on the film, you can never tell. You could be like let's take the desert sequence. There's a very hushy string sound in there. Well, I didn't know exactly what pitch the desert wind would be at. So Gary had to have the freedom when he heard everything together to say, gee, the wind is burying the strings, but the guitar is cutting through. So I need a little less guitar and a little more strings. And that's really up to what's happening at the moment. The score, in my opinion, is finally, in a sense, created on the dubbing stage.